Greetings, friends. Do you believe in miracles? Not into devilry, not into evil spirits sucking blood from us during sleep, not into lizard beasts from outer space, and in miracles from which official science disowns itself, like priests from demonism. And he believes. Moreover, he is sure that soon his devices will appear on the walls of our houses, reminiscent of the old radios that hung in the kitchens of all apartments in the Soviet Union. Only those radio receivers broadcast programs to a large, friendly country, and these devices will broadcast waves of a different range. And these waves will become the healer of each family member because they will nourish and enhance our immunity. And the immune system itself is able to deal with all the problems of the body. Yes, at this point, skeptics can safely switch off because many are sure that this is impossible because it cannot be. But here he is, our dreamer, a neurophysicist scientist, a professor, by the way, who says that he has results. People using his device, or rather the first prototype, lived for a year without a single tablet. No colds, no coughs, no allergies, nothing. Although in Russia, there is enough cold, frost, enough stress, enough of everything. So, who and what are we talking about? Today we are talking about the Russian scientist Andrey Kuznetsov. And this scientist does miracles. Extrasensory perception, telepathy, man-made healing, and other miracles. And all the miracles that he explores are connected precisely with man and his brain, his consciousness, his soul. Or rather, its neurons, nerve cells. No, this is not a biography or an ode to the courageous discoverer. This is a story about what has already been created and will be created on a purely scientific basis in his laboratory in the near future. Have you heard anything about cancer, oncology? Maybe you even know that all oncologists assure patients that they can best cope with this insidious disease by identifying it at an early stage. They just don't know how to detect this disease at an early stage. So, in the laboratory of Andrey Kuznetsov, a device was created that finds sites of cancer inflammation precisely at this early stage, when there is no cancer yet, but it is in this area that a nasty disease will soon begin to develop. Do you believe it? A small digression. My wife died of cancer. At first, the surgeons assured us that a successful operation was quite possible, and there was still time. And yes, after the operation, there was a remission. But 3 months later, think about it, 3 months after the so-called successful operation, a relapse occurred. And that's it. That's it. Because according to doctors, the disease was detected too late. The nodules have already spread too far. Do you understand how important it is in this matter, in oncology, to gain time? A month, 2, 3? Until metastases spread throughout the body, until this disease spreads. And Kuznetsov has a device. And the military, the Ministry of Emergency Situations, became interested in him. But it takes $100 to produce one copy and $100,000 to go through all stages of licensing. Where do scientists get this money? There are none. The device is lying there. Time is running out. Oh, I'm sure you'll ask, why then doesn't anyone make this device? Maybe because it's all fake? You have the right to doubt, but there is a primitive explanation that you will not like. Sorry for the forced digression on the topic of politics. But the point is that an oligarchic regime has been established in Russia. And these, if I may say so, oligarchic rulers are completely indifferent to the health of the people and their well-being. Science even more so. They only know how to count profits. Quick money, that's all. This is their policy. Here is a simple example of this policy. Pharmaceutical drugs developed in Russia had to be licensed and produced in Mongolia. This is more profitable than going through the same path in Russia. These drugs will then be purchased, paying a duty, imported, sold at a much higher price, but it is impossible to give life to these drugs in the country that created them. And the authorities are completely indifferent to this. Quite the contrary. They benefit from this bureaucratic system, this multi-level corruption. Let's return to the topic, health. Look, while studying the phenomenon of longevity of ascetic monks, who often secluded themselves in caves, and they did this for a reason. There was centuries of experience. Our inquisitive researcher of miracles found that the caves had a very beneficial environment for human health. Stalactites, salt rocks, and much more. Let's say for brevity, it boosts immunity and destroys harmful microorganisms, fungi, etc. And now in Andrey Kuznetsov's laboratory, there is a model of a special chamber, similar to the pressure chamber of divers and cosmonauts, which urgently needs to be brought to the stage of industrial production. Similar to the monk's cave, she heals with her environment and special neurowaves inside the chamber. It can prevent disease and cleanse the body. Powerful, fast, painless. But so far, no one has responded or invested in its further development and production. Guess why? For those who are in a hurry and are ready to abandon this video, I'll explain why a fascinating fragment of travel to a wondrous, unfamiliar world was shown at the beginning. The fact is that Andrey Kuznetsov is sure that such a travel option will soon become possible, which he calls, by analogy with car sharing, body sharing. But you won't have time to fly to Cyprus or climb Everest. This is unreal. Why? Really? Kuznetsov assures us, when body sharing will be available to you. Short, you can, under an agreement with a real climber or scuba diver, climb Everest or descend into the depths of the Red Sea. Spend several hours in the body of another person, experiencing all those emotions, observing all the beauties that are available to him. And then switch off and return to your body with a lot of unique impressions. This is a real memory of a perfect journey. Do you understand? Nonsense, the skeptic will say. What kind of transmigration into someone else's body is that? This is fantastic. And our scientist assures that this is a matter of the next 10 years. Because, two words of theory, all of us, people, are a kind of radio stations and constantly broadcast waves to the external environment. Andrey Kuznetsov calls this neurowaves that propagate through the neuro-ether. Moreover, each person has his own unique wave frequency, like a fingerprint at which his broadcast occurs. Hence the idea, to learn to listen to these waves and learn to transmit information to the brain, to information scanners, human neurons. The laboratory is currently working on creating a receiver for these neurowaves. The peculiarity of these waves is that they know no barriers. There are no distances for them. If a person actively radiates his thoughts or experiences, then his waves penetrate space. At least on planet Earth, they can be caught in any corner. The signal arrives faster than the speed of light. This is important. It is on the basis of these properties of brain neurons that the experience of the journey will be transferred from one source, the real brain of a professional traveler, to the brain of the client who ordered this adventure. By creating a more powerful transmitter, translator, and a more sensitive receiver, we can immerse ourselves in an unusual, unique journey just by putting a device on our head that looks like a sports elastic band. Nothing more. No flights, no equipment, no long border and customs controls. Agree, this is fantastic. Agree, this is impressive. But this fantasy has already been thought out, and it has taken on real shape. The devices are already under development. Not just an idea, not just a wish, but a project. Work is underway on it. Don't believe me? Already now, Andrey Kuznetsov is transmitting with his neurotranslator, a signal amplifier, and his colleague in Australia receives his transmission and records information. For example, columns of numbers, cipher, code, numbers. And all this is captured without any devices or chips in the brain, purely on your own, with neurons. Attention, how many numbers can a person in Australia guess in a session? If he is a simple person, not a magician and not Edgar Cayce, so the accuracy of the hit is 92%. Already 92%. Tell me, is this nonsense or magic? Or maybe it's science? After all, the results are stable, repeatable. They are easy to check. There were skeptics, we won't name names, but they were convinced that this was not a clever conspiracy, not a fiction, because there's no point in cheating. They don't pay for this. No customer, no sponsor. Speaking of mind reading, personal experience. In my youth, I found myself on the stage of a session of what was then called hypnotic experiments. And the psychic, Tofik Dadashev, you can Google this name, took me by the hand, tried to find the object I had hidden. The whole hall was watching us, and I know exactly what was going through my head. Ladder, telephone, foyer, and suddenly my detective, reading my thoughts, came down the steps into the foyer and said, "Phone, in the foyer, what's next?" And he tugged my hand slightly, but I didn't react. I was amazed that he read my thoughts literally, word for word. I was taken aback. Freeze. Therefore, the hypnotist was forced to move the phone, under which I found the jacket number I had hidden in the wardrobe. Conclusion? Thoughts can really be read, and I don't care what the learned skeptic with his degrees says. I could talk a lot about the ideas and plans of a scientist who sits on a meager budget, does not receive any grants from the government, and slowly advances his ideas, turning them into inventions and real results. There are a lot of amazing things here. For example, about neurosurfing, traveling along the waves of your memory, revealing internal reserves and memories of past lives. He knows how to do this, our Kuznetsov. Andrey is sure that everyone should go through this, and it is much easier than spending years studying the practices of yogis or Buddhist monks. For what? There are physical devices that help absolutely any person dive into the depths of their self. Yes, these are waves, this is music, these are special computer programs. Who wouldn't want to know about their past lives? Who doesn't want to hear about incarnation? Simply out of childish stubbornness? It's impossible because scientists said so? I could tell him his ideas for creating a time machine and a machine for traveling between worlds and galaxies, which most likely will be both, because the idea of traveling on a barrel of gasoline has long ago become absurd. Our I, our soul, if you like, will move, but it does not need a spaceship. But I won't stretch out the video. Have you caught the gist yet? There are facts that science does not want to see, and there is a scientist who is working to systematize and test the physics, the real basis of these wonderful facts. The name of this Russian scientist is Andrey Kuznetsov. His slogan? Sometimes the impossible becomes reality. I'll add on my own behalf, we know only 4% of information about a person, and 96% of the data about ourselves, about the body and essence of a person, is a secret to us. Therefore, people like Kuznetsov are role models. A few years ago, he was alone. Now he is working with his associates in my laboratory. But this laboratory is poor. For example, Elon Musk, who implants metal chips in the heads of people and volunteers, spends billions on this. Andrey Kuznetsov rejects this idea, both complex cranial operations and the introduction of chips into the brain. He is a supporter of a different path. Andrey Kuznetsov once said something personal, but I think you have a right to hear it. He said, "The most terrible discovery in my work is not that miracles have a simple basis on which it all works, but that it has always worked. It's just very important to someone that we don't know about it." And he added, "You know, they often tell me you're getting into this in vain. One pharmaceutical company, Big Pharma, can order your elimination without any sentimentality. Pensioners buy tons of medicines, and here is some kind of emitter and not a single pill. There are all sorts of special services. Just give them the go-ahead and Andrey Kuznetsov will disappear." But I just laugh in response. They do not understand what sacred purpose is. If I have to do this, no one will stop me. And if no, then I know for sure that in another life I will return to this same road. Do you understand? In another incarnation. But the road will remain the same. The road of light. Sorry for the pathos. I often remember these words. Road of light. He believes in his path. Believes. With all my heart. But there is no one to support his project yet. If he developed a device to enlarge the penis by 2 to 3 centimeters per year, a couple of tens of millions of customers would come running to him, and he would become a billionaire. And so, some kind of neuro-waves, neuro-ether, monk cells, past lives. This concludes my short story about the miracle that is nearby, and which we do not want to notice. All the best, friends.